Hey, Pastor Jason here with another edition of Sermon Q&A. A couple weeks ago I was preaching and I randomly said a statement about judging other people. Today I want to talk to you in this video about what does the Bible say about judging others. When is it right to judge? When is it not right to judge? And should we ever as Christians judge other people? So first, let's look specifically at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7. Do not judge or you too will be judged. That's the exact verse that most people use whenever they say back to a Christian, hey, you can't comment, you can't post, you can't say anything to me in person about this, that, or whatever, because Jesus said you can't judge. There's a difference between judging and criticizing. Criticizing is something that is really subjective. It's about what is on you. It's, maybe you would say, hey, Jason, I don't like that shirt. That shirt's ugly. You're criticizing me. But you might say in a judgment factor that you're putting a verdict on me about my emotion and about my heart by saying, Jason, you're a bad person because you're talking about this subject. So then you cast judgment on me. And really, that's kind of the worldview of judging and criticizing. But today I want to specifically talk about that word judging because that's the word Jesus used. And Jesus went on to say in verse 2, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So then there's a warning. It's like, well, can I ever judge other people? Here's the deal. In the New Testament, it's all throughout how that there are times you can judge other people and times that you shouldn't judge other people. Here's 3 points I want you to remember. Number 1 is we do not have the right to judge necessarily the world. God is ultimately the judge of the world. God is ultimately the judge of non-Christian people. You as a believer in Jesus are not going to gain any ground or help anyone out or maybe even lead anybody to Christ by pointing out what someone who claims to be a non-believer is doing in their life. It really don't help when we do it online. And so when we get that back, hey, do not judge, that's what Jesus said, and you call yourself a Christian, I would almost say, hey, I agree with that other person. I would say never do it online. We don't necessarily have a right to judge the world. Does this mean we never stand up for truth? Does this mean we never ever fight for the orphans and the widows or those who are being oppressed or show mercy? No. We can do those things, but we can do it without judging other people. Number 2, the second point is this. We do have a right to judge other Christians according to the Bible. Inside the church, God set up a system like a family. And we can, because of our relationship to other believers, point out maybe a sin in someone's life. We can help them. When you judge somebody inside the church, you should have a relationship with them. You should do it privately, not publicly. You should do it in a way that admonishes them or lifts them up and in love. You should always use love. There's a place in 1 Corinthians where Paul said this is where you should judge. It's in chapter 5 of 1 Corinthians, and there's a case of incest inside the church. Obviously, they should judge that person and do something about it. This person said, I'm a believer, I believe in Jesus Christ, but I'm still going to keep with this incestual relationship. And here's what it says in verse 12. Paul said, what business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? ? In other words, listen, those outside the church, they're doing what their nature is telling them to do. But then he says this, are you not to judge those inside? ? God will judge those outside. Expel the wicked person from among you. In other words, inside the church, it's okay to judge other believers. That's what Jesus is saying. Number 3, according to Jesus, you better be careful how you judge. In Matthew chapter 7, if we read on, it says this, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all of the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. He's saying here, don't judge, or you too will be judged. But if you are going to judge, then here's what you better watch out for. Look at your own life. Is there something in your life that you're doing that's causing you to have a poor fellowship with God? Is there some private sin, some secret sin, or maybe a public sin that you're not dealing with? At the end of the day, here's the deal. When we approach other people, we should do it with grace and with truth. 100% of each. Whatever you do, don't do criticism and judgment online, anywhere. By no means do that. I hope that you'll like this channel. subscribe to it, and maybe even leave a comment in the comments about this subject. Share this on your social media page, as well as join us in person here at the Vertical Church if you're in Yuma at 9, 10:30, and 12 on Sundays. I'll see you soon.